Hey guys, hey internet, it's Inkeater, and welcome to VAMN, Vinyl and Music News, where we talk about vinyl, music, and sometimes music news. So tonight I kind of wanted to touch back onto something that I talked about in a previous video, which was, can't remember if we talked about it in full or just in like a little tangent form. I think it was like a little tangent form. Anyway, essentially Best Buy is not going to be selling CDs anymore. And obviously it's kind of a reality that CDs are being phased out, especially nowadays for streaming music. Everybody's into Spotify, all these other streaming services. Granted, there's features that are still lacking in streaming services that I'm a little bit disappointed by, essentially. And that's a whole video for a different day, but that's a video in the works because I want to list out my gripes. I've used streaming services since, I guess, the beginnings of like torrents, like with Napster and other such like sites, and then beyond that there was Groove Shark, one that no longer exists, needless to say. Before Spotify and all these other guys, there was Groove Shark, which was a really amazing streaming service that you could actually communicate with other people. You could actually have a conversation about the music. You could actually look at other people's playlists, not having to be a friend of them. And I get it. Granted, there's Pandora and Spotify, and they're trying to accommodate those niches. And don't get me wrong, the content that you're able to extrapolate from those particular streaming services pretty freaking amazing. Like your listening habits, you know, with Spotify, what is it, Spotify end of the year thing. I will insert a link to that video. I mean, look at Spotify Wrapped. I mean, to me that is freaking genius. You're able to sit there and take all that data and create something really cool and tangible for others to share. But that's where it kind of ends. There's also no credit to the artist. Granted, now we're getting into it. I did not want to do this. Anyway, so back to the topic at hand, which is CDs are being phased out in favor of streaming services, and we knew eventually it was going to happen. But then again, CDs and music companies have done themselves no favors in terms of basically marketing themselves differently, selling themselves differently, offering, you know, incentives for purchasing that said CD. You know, and it's kind of interesting to me that recently, when I went to Best Buy, they actually had a bunch of new CDs that had just recently come out. I got Prophets of Rage for like not even $5. And to me, it was kind of interesting because it brought the topic of up in my head of, you know, hey, what was that first CD that you bought? I don't know, it kind of got me nostalgic about, you know, the first CD that I bought, and the one that I paid full price for, and essentially selling my CD collection. It brought up a lot of memories. But I got curious, and I started to think, you know, hey, yeah, what was the first CD that I ever purchased? And it turns out, thinking about it, the first CD that I ever purchased was Savage Garden's first album. I don't remember what it was called right off the top of my head. See, my Google, evil Google, I can't help but look it up because I need to know. Savage Garden. It was this album. Oh my god, I don't even remember what this. I think it was just called Savage Garden because it was their first released album. This album. That was the first CD that I ever purchased. Then the one after that was it was a soundtrack. It was not Interview with a Vampire. It was American Werewolf in Paris, specifically because it had a lot of instrumental and it was beautiful. This was kind of really when I was into classical music and I loved the Titanic soundtrack. There was a phase where I liked classical. I think it had a lot to do with the music that I was playing at the time. I was playing a clarinet along with other instruments, and it just kind of fell hand in hand at the time. Granted, I look back at those years and I'm like, why? Granted, it felt like torture at the time, but I'm kind of like grateful for those skills. Anyway, I rant. But it kind of got me curious. You know, for me, it was Savage Garden. For you, what was that CD? You know, what was the first CD that you decided to basically buy into the media? Let me know down in the comments below. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys are doing awesome. If you're curious, last week we talked about, well, we drew Ready Player One for one, and then we talked about the cassette. and nostalgia, and, you know, what was that first item that you had to replace because you essentially ran it into the ground. Anyway, if you're curious about that, I will definitely leave a link somewhere up here, and if not, no worries. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing awesome, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Bye!
Whatever it is that you believe you're seeing, it's not real.
Seeing things before they happen. Things are not always what they seem in this place. So you can't take anything for granted.